When the sun disappears behind the mountains and villages fall into silence, a different kind of battlefield begins. In many Afghan villages, night was never just darkness. It was strategy, fear, and control. This story is not about glorifying violence, but about understanding how nighttime warfare reshaped rural Afghanistan and why it became one of the most decisive factors in modern insurgency warfare. What happened after dark changed everything, and most people still don't fully understand how it worked. For decades, Afghan villages followed a predictable rhythm. Days were busy, public, and visible. Nights were quiet, private, and vulnerable. The Taliban understood something critical very early. Power during the day belongs to whoever controls roads, bases, and checkpoints. But power at night belongs to whoever controls fear, information, and silence. This realization transformed the way they operated, especially in remote areas where government presence faded after sunset. Nighttime warfare was not about large battles or heavy weapons. It was about psychological dominance. Villagers would hear footsteps, soft knocks on doors, or distant gunfire echoing through valleys. These sounds carried messages stronger than any announcement. The Taliban used the night to remind people that even if soldiers controlled the area during daylight, real authority returned after dark. Fighters traveled on foot, memorized terrain, and used local knowledge to avoid detection. Even those who disagreed with Taliban ideology sometimes turned to them because they delivered outcomes when the state could not. It felt like the Taliban were always watching, always present, even when unseen. Government forces faced a major disadvantage. At night, they retreated to bases for safety. This created a vacuum. Villagers noticed this pattern quickly. When soldiers disappeared after sunset, trust eroded. People began to believe that the government was temporary, while the Taliban were permanent. The Taliban also used nighttime to enforce social control. Music stopped, schools closed, movement was restricted. These rules were enforced quietly and consistently. Once villagers realized that violations would be noticed at night, behavior changed even during the day. Control at night reshaped daily life without constant confrontation. Another underestimated factor was recruitment. Young men were approached discreetly after dark. Conversations happened privately, away from families and community pressure. Promises of protection, money, or purpose were offered. Refusal was noted. Acceptance was rewarded. Nighttime allowed recruitment to happen without public exposure or immediate consequences. The emotional toll on villagers was immense. Sleep became difficult. Every sound triggered anxiety. Children grew up associating darkness with danger. This constant stress weakened resistance over time. People stopped asking questions. Silence became survival. This emotional exhaustion was not accidental. It was part of the strategy. International forces struggled to counter this approach. High-tech surveillance worked best in open spaces and during the day. The Taliban, operating quietly at night, appeared more connected and more aware. Cooperation became a balancing act. During the day, villagers complied with government demands. At night, they complied with Taliban expectations. What made nighttime warfare so effective was its invisibility. This is why understanding nighttime warfare is crucial for anyone trying to understand how insurgent groups survive against stronger enemies. Even today, similar tactics are studied by analysts and security experts around the world. The lessons are uncomfortable but necessary. Control does not always announce itself. Sometimes it knocks softly on your door after midnight and leaves before sunrise, knowing that fear will do the rest. This is how nighttime warfare reshaped Afghan villages, not through constant violence, but through consistent presence, not through visibility, but through certainty, and not through ideology alone, but through a deep understanding of human psychology under darkness.